had a few people ask me questions, business-wise, and a lot of it has to do with how am I going to, et cetera, et cetera. I want to emphasize something to you. When I first started, can you hear me all right with this, by the way? A bit weak. Well, we will unweak it somehow. I have to. Is that better? Yes. Okay. I want to remind you when I started this, I put out three criteria, if you will, for success: the mental set, the techniques or how-tos, and the experience or the stubbing your toe. And most of the questions that I've gotten, during breaks and other times, have been around the experience part of it. It's like when most people go to a workshop having to do with how to make more money, so to speak, they sort of go there expecting that they're going to have the magic answer, the formula. A, B, C, D, do those things. They're very easy to do, and all of a sudden, your bank account is loaded. Okay? And that's not the way it works. It really isn't. I'm going to give you a lot of mental set. We've done that. I'm going to give you a lot of techniques today, some of them very powerful, and you will recognize the power. You'll see the potential in them. But there is no one way to do any of them. Each of you is individual. You each have different barriers, if you will, to financial success of the mental set you have to deal with. You have different personalities. You live in different communities. And so there is no one way to do it. So we're going to describe ways to do things, but when push comes to shove, those who are going to be successful with this are those that are willing to go out and do it, try it, have a success, a non-success, a failure, get some no's, learn from it, try it again, and eventually build for yourself your own formula. And that's what's going to happen for those who are going to take this successfully. Those who go out and try something once and it didn't quite work the way it was supposed to in your imagination may well be disappointed. Because I can assure you to go from where you are to where you may want to be is going to be some trial and error. If you're not willing to do that or ready to do that, I don't know what to do. Yeah, what? We got a problem? Well, the cameras aren't getting good sound? How's that? Does that work? Okay. So, where we left off last, I was going through my outline here I have for you, and I'd gotten to point A, and I was about to get to point B, and somebody asked me about something about group work, and we jumped way over to something else. So, I'm going to go back to point B, and I've just got a series of ideas. We're going to go through them. But what I want to do is, as I talk about these ideas, please, 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 this is for you. Get behind those microphones and start asking questions like you.
I'm setting a good example. No, this isn't a question.
Yeah, why don't you raise that thing up a little bit, can you, somehow, for other speakers? Doesn't go up?
Okay, is that better? I just want to say something that Tony Robbins said. You're familiar with him. He says that success is the result of good judgment, and good judgment is the result of experience. And experience, many times, is the result of bad judgment.
Yeah, okay, that's right. That's right. That's right. So anyway, please feel free to be prolific on those microphones. Because you are, as I said before, you are the ones that are in the trenches here. You are the ones that need to take this material and go out and do something with it. So when you have your questions, you need to ask them, and I'll launch off them. And that's how we do this. I have a bunch of stuff to cover, but I can cover most or all of it just by taking your questions and dovetailing it all. So, at any rate, under techniques, I have here this little comment B. It says, let bookstores, restaurants, supermarkets, etc. sell your book and keep all the profits. Place them near the cash register. Now, here's the idea. First of all, write a book. We'll talk a little bit later about the idea about being an authority. When you write something, you're an authority automatically. Okay? So you write a little booklet. You can call it emotional freedom techniques if you want, or you can call it some specialized thing. Women's issues taken care of the easy way, or whatever you want to do. You write some little booklet that is well written, that has a nice title to it, looks nice. It doesn't have to be really fancy. You can do it on your computer. And you go to a restaurant, a movie theater maybe, or a bookstore, etc. And what you do is you tell the owners, listen, I have this stack of booklets. We'd like to put them by your cash register. I'll give them to you. You can charge whatever you want to charge for them, and you keep all the money. Okay? Now, Who finds resistance to that? There must be questions in there someplace. Oh, come on. Well, you have a question, okay.
How much information do you give away? Do you give it all away? Do you tell everything?
Very good question. Yes, you give lots of information away. Because the whole purpose of it is to give as much away as you can, because the more you give away, the more the truly interested prospect is going to read it. See, the truly interested prospect is going to read it. If it says all about women's issues, if that's it, and you're a woman with a woman's issue, okay, and it's right there, and it's $1 or $2 or something like that, and you like what it says, and the headline speaks to you, you're a very interested reader. You don't want to read, 2 paragraphs. You would like to read something that goes a paragraph, it draws your attention in, brings in some new ideas, brings in some testimonials, brings in some stuff that's really interesting reading.
You show them the whole technique
You
with
certainly
the
can.
chart and all the points
you certainly
and all that
can.
kind of stuff?
You certainly can. That doesn't mean you have to. But thank you for that. There is one criteria here that most people don't really get in business, and that is it's sort of like you're supposed to put out just a little teaser. No, your truly interested people are going to read all the material information on there, and at one level they know they don't know how to do it well themselves. They want to see the expert. Okay?
This reminds me of Jay Abraham. He gives,
that's where it came from.
He gives out all the tapes, all the
sure.
books, and charges $5,000 for a weekend, and gives you a money-back guarantee up to the end of the first day. And only one person walked out the last time I heard this. So.
Yeah, but if you remember what he does is he puts out all kinds of stuff. I mean, he gives you idea after idea. I mean, you can take his stuff right there, and you could walk all over the place and make money with it if you'll just follow it there. But what he does is he establishes himself as a true expert who's willing to give it away. Okay, and what you think by that is, well, there's a lot more behind that. Okay, and it's true, and it's true. Okay. So that's a very important point. So I would make it detailed. I would make it interesting. I would make it something more than a teaser. Okay. But the point is, now the restaurant owner or the bookstore owner or whatever other retail establishment you may want to go to. And by the way, you could also put these in the offices of your dentists and your doctors and other people. Okay, that are willing to do that. And by the way, you can have their booklets on your desks as well. Okay, so you can do some tradesies in there. But anyway, when you put it out there, the owner may have some resistance to it. May say, well, I want to put that. I've never done this before. It may be a new idea to them. And that's okay. You can come back another day. You can go ask some other restaurant owner. If you go ask 10 restaurant owners and 10 bookstore owners, if you can do this, somebody's going to say yes. I mean, the odds are they're going to say yes. Okay? You may get half of them to say yes. Okay? And then you can go back to the other half some other time. But that's a great idea, because why? People will come in, they'll see it. Interested people will spend a couple of bucks for it. What is the cost for the advertising on that? Whatever it costs you to print that thing out on your computer. That's the cost of it. Okay, the paper, the ink, the whatever it is, plus the time of writing it, of course. But you want to write it because you want to be an authority. You want to write stuff that is good. The better you write stuff, and the more you have out there, the more people are going to know who you are, the more of an authority you are, and the more business you'll get. Go ahead, Pat.
Yeah. And my question is whether it has to be specifically on EFT. I have loads of stuff that I've written, detailed, wonderful stuff that'll tell people tell them actually how to do things, going to help them in their life, which is not specifically EFT. I could lead into it.
Of course you can use anything you want. The end result here is somebody going to read this and say, gee, I should call Patricia Carrington, PhD.
Well, I don't want to give them so much they'll feel so happy that they won't want to call.
Oh, no. I just pointed that out. Misconception. Okay. Easy misconception to have.
Yeah.
But the more you can give them, the more credibility you establish with them.
Okay. And the other question is the expense of the printing out from my printer. What size do you... If I did it from my printer, it's an 8.5 by 11. Now, that's not really a book in people's mind unless you bind it or something, spiral.
Well, you can do it. You can take 8.5, 11 and fold it in half. And
yes.
then staple it. And maybe have a 20-page booklet or something like that. And then you could make the cover of it color if you want, and all the rest of it's black and white.
That's more expensive, that folding in half, that thing where they staple it. It really is, Gary. I've checked that. But anyway,
well, all right.
It needs
Yes,
to be about no bigger than that. However we figure it out.
Well, yes, but when you say, I want to go over that, okay?
Yeah.
Because this is a barrier as far as you're concerned. You're thinking it's more expensive. What do you mean by that?
It's more expensive than the 8.5 by 11.
To print out of your computer?
No, not to print out of my computer, to get it folded and and stapled in the middle with the
Yeah, it's called
cover.
saddle stitched.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's one way of calling it. It's
Okay.
actually staple is even
Well-
cheaper. It's the cheapest you can do.
Okay.
And it would still, and then their machines fold it, because you're having hundreds of these things, I would assume.
Well, hold on a second.
Yeah, okay.
One of the nice things about computers is you can write it once, okay, and now you can print out 10 copies.
And try it out.
And 30 copies. You could probably fold them yourself and staple them yourself.
Yes.
PhD? PhD, can you do it?
I could do that.
Okay, now
Honestly.
you
I could.
okay, so you take those 20 or 30 or whatever it is, and then you try to peddle them around to owners of bookstores or restaurants or wherever else, okay?
Yeah.
And you see how well it goes. Now, if they all give you no, 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 what you're doing is they're taking a look at the cover of that and saying, okay, change again. Now you got to change your cover, but you don't have to do several hundred now.
Okay.
You just do a few more.
Yeah.
Okay, you just change the cover this time. You see, maybe you only do 5 at one time and go in. So that way you can try it very inexpensively, see how it works. You know, and you get your nose, stub your toe, very inexpensively. Okay, and then later on, when you finally find something that people want and it sells, and then they ask you to come back and bring another supply, etc., then you know you got the right formula. Then you can go, if you want to, make several hundred of them at a time. Go to the expense of doing it, because it's very inexpensive advertising at that point.
You've answered my question. My tendency would be to go ahead and do too many on the first trial, thinking that's the way to go.
Yes, don't do that. We have computers now, and we can. Yeah. Please use your computer efficiently and intelligently. Yes.
Yes.
Which I know you can do. I know how intelligent you are. I just know.
Oh, yes, me too. Thank you, Gary.
Okay, dear.
I wanted to say that in UK, and I know you have it in Canada and USA, we have a firm called Staples, and they do binding.
We have Staples here,
yeah,
too.
Well, I'm saying USA, they do binding for nothing, for pennies.
Well, that's there.
So, yeah, but I mean, take it in and take your own stuff in, have it ring bound, put an acrylic cover.
Well, that may be true in the United Kingdom. The manuals you're holding in front of you, that I gave you, you know how much those things cost for this room?
What, to bind them?
To print them, bind them, and everything.
Well,
$1,415.
how many did you do?
180.
Well, what's that work out per?
$7. So roughly $7. But anyway, and you're correct. You can go for $7 to have it done. But if you're going to sell them for $1 or $2 or $3, it's hardly worth binding them for $7.
My point was, if you want to make it look professional, have it bound by.
Yeah, and you would do that after you've done your little trials out there. As you do your trial and error, you find out what happens. You know? And so if you may go out and sell 20 of them right away, but nobody calls you. Well, that tells you there's something wrong with the material inside. It doesn't grab them. The headlines or the chapter headings don't grab them or something. Somehow they took it home and going, what's that? They didn't call you. But so that means you have to go back and revise. And that's the important thing about it. Most people want to do an advertisement or a booklet or something like that, and they want to think the first try is supposed to be the right one. And if it isn't, well, it wasn't working. Something's wrong with the people. Okay? But that is the thought. That is, something's wrong with the people. This community is too conservative for this. Or you have all these other things, because what I wrote was certainly correct. Okay? But if they're not biting on it, then you have bad breath, and the marketplace is telling you in very clear terms you have bad breath because this isn't selling, it isn't getting me. It doesn't, you know. So that's why you can do trial and error, do it on a computer, go out, try this very inexpensively, and so on. Once you get the formula to do that, you've got every restaurant and every bookstore in town and other establishments, which I haven't even thought to mention at this point. You've got a lot of advertising out there for how much? Not much. Not much. A lot better advertising, by the way, than advertising in some local magazine, newspaper, etc., because the people that are buying it are going to genuinely read it. Whereas when you put it in a magazine, only a small fraction actually reads your ad. Okay? So it's very focused. Very good. Yeah, go ahead, Quayla.
I just wanted to tell everybody about teleclass.com has a 1-hour free teleclass by Paulette Ensign on how to write a tips booklet, and she has a little bit of a different twist. She made $250,000 on one tips booklet, and she'll tell you how she did it and how to write a good tips booklet. So it's teleclass.com and Paulette Ensign, and don't ask me how to spell her name.
Ensign. Real quick idea. I got some referrals from dentists in my town after I went around to the dentist. As my dad was a dentist, I know fear of dentistry is a big problem for the dentist. They don't like people that squirm and faint and all this. So I got some referrals from dentists just by telling them that I had a technique, and they sent people to me. So a booklet in the dentist's office, fear of dentistry, erased or whatever, would be a good idea.
Yeah, you may want to have a different title than fear of dentistry in a dentist's office. But there, I don't know what the title may be, but you need a clever title there. But the other thing I would suggest to you, in order to get more dentists and doctors and other professionals to do that, is to put their brochures in your waiting room, or their booklets if they want to give it. So you do tradesies, and they're much more happy to do that because they'll get a little business out of that here and there, and vice versa. Okay, very easy. Isn't that easy? Go ahead.
Oh, that's something easier. I guarantee you'll make money on it. Take it to your golf courses, to your tennis shops, and I promise you, you'll have to, your printer will go overtime, and you could get big crowds to gather and do your little deals with them.
How to improve your golf score?
Sure.
The mental way.
Guarantee it'll work.
Did you get that? How to improve your golf course? The mental way. Okay, because every golfer knows the difference between a good game and a lousy game is mental. That's what they'll say. Okay, write that. That's very good. That's very good. Put my name on it. Send me royalties. Go ahead.
I did that at the local golf club, and the golf pro was very, very upset. Didn't want any part of it. He said he could handle all that stuff. The golf pro at the place I went to was very, very upset. He said he could handle all that just in teaching them how to swing proper, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay. Okay. Now,
Yeah,
thank you. But let me comment on that.
Please.
Okay. So you take whatever you prepare and you go to the golf club, okay, or the restaurant, the bookstore, or wherever else, the dentist's office, or wherever else you go, and whoever there is says, I don't need this. They give you the no, if you will. The tendency is to say, to extrapolate from that and say, oh, all golf pros will say that. Okay, well, okay, there's only one club, but that doesn't mean there's not restaurants and bookstores and da 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 da. But there are other. That does not mean that every golf pro will do that. And it also means you need to step back and say, well, gee, there may be some other way to present this. I present it in such a way where that golf pro said, to him it's competition or something like that. What you could. Did you tell him he could have all the profits on the book? You didn't do that.
No, it wasn't a book. It was an advertisement.
And it was an advertisement. Well, okay. All right. Well, do a little book, give him the profits on it. See, that's another way to go about it. That's why I talked about the antenna. Okay. We try to go to our left brain to find what's already there, and that's just only so much there. Your antenna will give you many, 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 many more ideas. So if it doesn't work one way, you come back and you try another, and then you try another. I'm going to give you tons of ideas here. Okay.
Just
and
a quick
they won't all fit for all of you, but go ahead.
All golf courses have a men's organization, a women's organization. Go to their organization, give them a free golf club. They always want a little extra money to make. Give them the books free, let them make the money off of it.
Okay.
And then schedule your...
And that way you walk around the pro if the pro's going to be a problem.
That's right.
Okay. Sure.
Okay, the fear that comes up for me about doing this
Good.
is
I
that...
want fears.
I mean, I feel like this is like the weenie part of me that...
Excuse me. Can we have a hello weenie for Martha? Hello weenie. Join the club. We have more weenies back here. Okay. Okay. What's your weenie thing?
Okay, so I take it to this bookstore, right? And it doesn't sell. Oh. It doesn't sell, all right? So that's... or nothing happens with it, and so I come back to check or whatever, and no, this really isn't doing anything. So then, I guess the fear is having to, how do I persuade them to let me try this again?
They just told you, they did you a great big favor. They just said the way this was presented, the way this book is, etc., doesn't fly with us. Go try it again. That's what they told you.
I guess
And
what
you need
I'm
to know
thinking
that.
what I'm thinking they're actually saying is just go. Period.
Martha, tap with me for a minute, will you?
Okay.
Even though I'm so arrogant,
so arrogant.
that I know what other people think.
That I know what other people think.
I deeply, completely accept myself. I am so good at knowing what other people think
I'm so good at knowing what other people think.
that if people really knew how good I was,
That if people really knew how good I was,
the government would hire me
the government
and pay me millions of dollars
pay me millions
because they would love to know what other country leaders think. Microsoft would hire me
Microsoft,
because they would like to know what all the other software manufacturers think.
because they would love to know what all the other...
I am good.
I am really good.
On the other hand, maybe I don't know what other people think.
On the other hand, maybe I don't know what other
My imagination can be very expensive.
My imagination can be very expensive.
And in reality, whatever they thought, what they told you was, in your example, is that this presentation didn't work.
Okay, but not necessarily that that I'm a bad or that I'm a bad person, or that I'm this, you know.
That's why we did mental sets. So see, we're back to mental set here. Yes, and it's very important. Mental set is very. Don't go away. I'm not done with you. Well, maybe I am. I don't know. Remember, we talked about the writing on the walls. Okay, the writing on the walls is extraordinarily important. Now, what you're talking about here is fear of rejection. That, yes, no.
Yes.
It's
that's the sort of,
I mean, it fits in that box anyway.
Well, it's like I have to. What's that? They have all the power, and I don't really have any, and so I'm trying to get them.
Even though I'm powerless, and I'm a weenie little woman
And I'm a little woman
who doesn't know anything
who doesn't know anything
except what other people think.
except.
I have a comedy on my walls. I'd rather read that than try again.
Then try that. Then try.
Much
again.
easier to read than try again.
It's much easier to read than try again.
Now the reality is that what's happening is you are presenting something to them, and they are judging it by what? The writing on their walls. They're consulting the writing on their walls and saying, is this worthwhile for me?
I thought they were judging by the cover.
Well, but that is what they're doing.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
by the same token, they're saying, writing on the walls, what does that cover mean? What does that say? Is that worthwhile here? This presentation I'm being made about what I could or couldn't do by Martha, etc. Is that worthwhile to me? And the writing on their walls is saying no. It's the writing on their walls that you're addressing, not the person. Now, you think it's the person that's rejecting you, but in fact, you don't know what the writing on their walls is, and you have to do trial and error before you find something that fits for somebody else's writing on their walls.
Okay.
It's like relationship work. Okay? and it is.
Yeah.
It is. Now, what you bring up is, thank you for bringing it up, because it's very valuable. 99% of you, in my experience, or at least 90% of you, have this built in, what if they say no, I'm only going to do it once type thing. It's very natural.
Well, it's sort of like they're going to say, "Are you back again?" You know, why do you keep coming back?
Even though I still know what other people think.
Haven't you gotten the idea yet?
Even though I still know what other people think. Even before they think it.
All right, even before I do. Well,
No, you think you do, and you are reacting to your emotional response to what you think they're going to say.
Yeah, and I'm
Because
sorry.
why? Because why? Written on your walls is something like salespeople are pests.
Yes.
Okay? All right?
Right.
They are pests? Okay, let me ask you a question. Or true or false? Every single salesperson in the world is a pest. True or false? False. Okay. Some salespeople are pests. Some are truly professional and you love to do business with them. True or false? True. Okay. So which one do you want to be? Of course. And the way you find out how to do that is you go through trial and error, and you be, this is an important term, write this down, put it in capitals if you will, you be politely persistent. Somebody says no, what they're really saying is, gee, you haven't convinced me yet, the writings on my walls, you know, aren't really ready yet to accept this. So that's okay, you can be very, you don't have to be rejected by it, you can just go back and come back and send them a little letter, say thank you to da-da-da, you might be interested in this little idea. And you go by it again some other day. See, here's the nice thing about that. You keep writing them letters, you keep going by politely, always politely, very important. Oh, I understood that, but I thought you might be interested in so-and-so. If they end up getting belligerent, just understand there's other people that will buy your product. There's not one prospect in this world, okay? But usually they don't if you're politely persistent. But the more you send them that letter, the more often they see your name, the repetition starts to come in, just like advertising, repetition, repetition, repetition. After a while, your name is no longer like a cold call. It's no longer strange. They know who Martha is. And you are politely persistent, and the message there is very important. If you're politely persistent, they say, you know, she must have something to say. Eventually, many will come across that. I have to go back here first. Well, I have to go back here first.
Gary, I would like your permission, if I could, to write a little pamphlet to hand out called I Know What You're Thinking, and it'd basically be your model of the Palace of Possibilities.
Fine with me. Fine with me. You can copy anything I have on that website and give it out all you want.
Okay.
Okay, is that what you're asking? Yeah. Yeah, sure. Okay, go ahead, Ted.
I just wanted to tell you of an experience I've been meaning to tell you for 3 days here. I had a guy come to me, I'm a lawyer, as I said, and I had a guy coming to me to sell me a Pitney Bowes stamp machine, and I didn't use it. I said, I don't want it, and the guy walked in the door cold, and I couldn't get him out the door fast enough. That was the first time. The second time he came back, and he was smiley and everything. He's a nice guy, persistent, but look, I don't have time, and I was really pretty difficult with the guy. He came back again. He came back again. After a while, he came back. He never talked about Pitney Bowes after a while. Never. He did, hi, how are you? Just was stopping by him in the area. I said, oh, hi, how are you? And I was waiting for that second shoe to fall.
Listen to this. I'm going to interrupt you a second. What's happening here is you're gaining familiarity.
Exactly.
Politely persistent, you're gaining familiarity. You're no longer a stranger. You're becoming a friend.
After a while, I got to know his kids. I got to know his this. I got to know his that. And I looked forward to seeing him. If he didn't show up, I was actually saying, and eventually, I wanted to use a Pitney Bowes stamp machine.
Okay.
I found reasons to use a Pitney Bowes stamp machine. And it took him 3 years, but I bought a Pitney Bowes stamp machine from him.
Now, it may not be worthwhile to call somebody for 3 years to sell a Pitney Bowes machine, okay? On the other hand, let me also suggest that, yeah, that is polite persistence. On the other hand, I forgot what I was going to say. Go ahead, I'll think of what I say. Go ahead, Paula.
Well, the other thing that occurs to me is I live in a small town where I know almost everybody in town one way or another. And if I think about going around to different businesses, I know people there, or I've seen them, or they've seen me. And I thought about just offering them a free sample. You know, if I show them the booklet and tell them what I can do, and they're a little skeptical, I say, well, you got anything going on, let me show you. Because once somebody's done it, that's my word, you know, my best referrals are somebody I've done something with, even at like a cocktail party on their chocolate craving, they tell their friends. And if they had a booklet and said, yeah, I've done this, and this is really cool, I think that would make it much less of a cold call even for the booklet.
Sure, of course, of course. And if they're all your friends in the community, you need to be very polite because they don't want you to be a pesky salesperson, you know, but just go give things away. That's okay. Just thought I'd give it to you. You know, learned a few things, thought I'd give it to you. Who else? Oh, okay, sorry.
That's okay. My other business, I have 8 corporations that I'm president of. Big deal.
Wait a minute. See, many people in the therapist professions have somehow gotten the idea that people that are presidents of corporations are powerful and bigger than them.
Well, both of those are actually true.
Okay, well, wait a minute. But wait, I would like to have the audience give you, I would like to have this audience give you a proper response. I mean, I'd like to have you go as though they're more powerful and you go, oh. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. But the reason why I wanted to say that is because there's all different sizes of companies, and one of my companies, my real estate company, I've really built up over the years. And because I'm so used to having salespeople work for me, and I'm so used to recruiting nice people that are clients to also work for me, I use that in my holistic business as well. One thing in real estate is you're not allowed to give referral fees to people unless they're a licensed person. That's like the state law in all 50 states. So I was also used to that. So what I tell people, especially when they're really thrilled with after treatment and services on the holistic side, I said, you know what, I would love to pay you to bring me referrals. But the only way I can really do that is if you work for me as an independent contractor, and I have a schedule for them and a contract that says what they're allowed to do, what they're not allowed to do, and that if they send somebody to a class, they get 25% of the tuition. If they send someone for services, then they get 25%, and it's working really well. But I'm used to that, but I do recommend that if you have either a high school kid that's a real go-getter or a friend that's doing really great selling Mary Kay or something, they're already used to selling and recommending people. So why not take advantage of those skills in that relationship and think of a way to integrate them into your business, not necessarily to compete with you as a therapist or whatever you want to do, but to leverage their skills and take advantage of what you either don't have time or don't have the taste for doing yourself.
Yeah, and I think that would be a great idea. For beginners, that may work. I think some of the other ideas may have be easier to use than that because there's something about managing people and that and some other things.
Right.
But yeah, it's a great idea, leveraging off others. Sure. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Well, I just had a wonderful idea.
Wait a minute. Now we have to respond to this. Ooh.
Thank you. Why not write a small booklet that's probably, you can burn out a color printer printing color business cards, and anybody who wants to see mine, they're welcome to. I figured out that a colored business card costs anywhere between $350 and $650 to print out professionally. I can make mine for under $50. It's cheaper for me to burn out a printer than it is to buy business cards. That's the sidetrack. My idea is take Gary's video, really go out on the limb here, guys. Don't sell your booklet. Put a small booklet in exactly the size of the video. Take it down to the printer. Let them shrink wrap it together. You've got readers, you've got doers, you've got listeners, you've got the visual, all in one package. You hit everybody from every learning perspective whatsoever. And people love something for free. If you really want to go out on a limb, put a discount coupon in the back of the booklet. People like discounts too. And with my clients, how we built our massage therapy practice, for every one that referred someone to us, we gave them a free 15-minute massage. When they got 4 of them, they could get a whole body massage for free. You don't know how many people got their massages for free for a good 6 months to a year because they were telling anybody about us anyway, and now they were getting paid for it. You have no problems with the government, and they walk home smiling, happy, and mellow. You can do the same thing with EFT. Find all your friends, say everyone that you promote, write your name on the back of my card. When I get it, you get an extra 15 minutes on your next EFT session.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It works, and there's nothing cheaper form of advertise. You book them when you're not doing anything but twiddling your thumbs anyway, when you probably should be making cold calls, though.
Sure. Okay. All right, good.
Gary, one quick comment, if I might.
Where are we? Here. Okay.
Another thing is, like with the bookstores, you don't need to go to Barnes & Noble or all the rest of them. I'm assuming that there might be a couple independents still left in town. You don't go to Builder Square or Home Base, there might be a few independent hardware stores still around. You don't go to Staples or Office Max, there might be an independent copy center around. The independent guys are trying to survive. They're being Walmarted out of business. They'll do anything for a few bucks.
There are an awful lot of mom and pop grocery stores too. Now, if you can somehow convince Safeway to put it near the check registers, okay, give it a shot. I don't know if they'll say yes or no, but is it worth a try? Sure. Of course. Of course, all kinds of different, chains and et cetera, et cetera. So, okay, number C is I have cross-promote with your clients, motivational speakers, dentists, I already talked about this, et cetera. But down here I have something called endorsed mailings. Now, that's really an interesting thing. Let's say you were to get a letter in the mail from somebody you don't know that says, I think you ought to come to a seminar, okay? And it tells you about the seminar, and it's about whatever it is, personal growth of some kind or other, okay? The odds of you reading that are something out of, I don't know what they are out of 10, but they're something out of 10. But suppose instead of that, you got the same brochure, but with it was a letter from me, who you know. And I said, here is a brochure from a friend of mine who's putting on a great workshop that will give you this, 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 and this, and I think it's super, and I think you ought to do it. Now, what are the odds you'll read that brochure compared to the other one? Much higher. That doesn't mean you'll go to the workshop, but because it is now endorsed, if you will, by someone you know, now there's some familiarity in there, and now somehow or other it is endorsed, and therefore it has some credibility the other one wouldn't have. You can trade endorsed mailings with other professionals about your service, not necessarily workshop, but about your services if you want to. And that's an obvious one to me. Any questions on that one? Responses? That's a good one. That's not a good one. Go ahead.
Yeah, Gary, I just wanted to say that when Lane and I had our educational business up and running. That was one of the primary tools that we used to build our business. And
how did it work?
It worked fabulous.
No, how mechanically? You went to who to have an
we went to
endorsed
centers of influence, people who had done our work. For example, a financial planner.
Okay.
Who handled people's money.
Yes.
And she would send out a letter. Generally, we would draft a letter for them because you want to save them as much labor as possible.
Sure.
So we draft a letter.
Now, she has her own mailing list, right?
Oh, yes.
Okay, good. All right.
We give her the letter. She would edit it to suit herself and have it printed on her letterhead and then bring it to us, and we would have as many copies made as were in her mailing list. So we handled all of the printing costs, all of the mailing costs. There was nothing that she had to spend. And it was very important to make sure that she knew that up front. The only thing she had to do was endorse our service, our seminars and programs, which she was happy to do, no cost to her.
Which, by the way, is not just you sending out a brochure that has someplace printed on it, endorsed by Jane Smith. In fact, the best way to do it is to have the brochure sent to somebody from Jane Smith with her letterhead on the envelope. Is that what you did?
Absolutely. Yes, it was on her letterhead.
Yeah. So it's coming from
her
Jane
envelope,
Smith.
And because it was a special offer to her constituency that if they participated, they got a special break because they knew her and she knew us.
And therefore, Jane gets something out of it because she gets to endorse something where her clients can get a discount if they want it.
Exactly.
Okay? See how the thing works? You get very creative with it. But I think the important thing is that if you're going to send a mailing out like that, and you can also do it by email, you know, if you want to, but if you're going to send a mailing out there, it needs to come from the person they know, not from you who they don't know. Because if it just comes from somebody you don't know, you may not even open the envelope.
Right.
But if it comes from somebody you do know, you will at least open the envelope 9 times out of 10.
Right.
Right? Okay. Ooh. Ah. Go ahead. His microphone's up here, Lisa.
Maybe I'm slow. On the endorsed letter, are you giving them a referral fee for anybody that then signs up that they've sent to, or is that just something
you don't
they do
have
out of the goodness of their heart?
It will depend on the negotiation, I guess.
Because I'm not quite seeing what's in it for them.
Oh, we just mentioned that.
Other than the discount.
In this case, there's going to be a discount. But what else is in
So
it
they
for
look
them
into
if
their
they really
client.
like your service and you've helped them? You could give them, by the way, you could give them, free sessions.
Ah, okay.
You give them a free session for the endorsement. But generally speaking, an endorsement isn't that good unless if you have to pay somebody for it.
Well, I know that. They know that. But the client is not.
Well, yes, but I don't think you're going to get a heartfelt, good follow-up on an endorsed mailing unless the person sending it out is very credible and believes what they're saying.
Gary, you can also cross-endorse to them. You can cross-endorse your people to them, and that's the quid pro quo.
Yes, yes. Did you hear that one? Okay, yeah, that's a very good idea. Yeah,
The thing that works with the endorsement letter, the way, like the person that's endorsing for you, is that when they write the letter, they write it from a very caring place. You're people that I care about, and I've noticed that there are relationship challenges that show up when we get into financial planning, and I want to help you take care of that concern. So they expand their public identity with their constituents in a very favorable way.
Yes, and that would be especially true if they have experienced your services themselves. If they've done that and they've gotten over their fear of public speaking, or their child can now read where they couldn't before, and so I mean there's a big debt in there someplace. You got it, you guys? That's important. Okay, it's time for a break. Now I have to be cognizant of time here, and there are a couple of things here that I want to make sure we cover and cover well. So I'm going to skip around a little bit here. I'm going to cover another thing or two that I have here in this one little section, but then I'm going to skip beyond that because I want to make sure some things get covered. I don't want to get stuck at the last minute and haven't covered them well. So anyway, let me go through this a little bit. On number F under techniques, film your sessions, give or sell at low cost. It makes you an authority. I had a unique experience. I sort of knew about it, but I never thought about it. How many of you here have seen the videotapes that we sell, the EFT card? How many of you here? Okay. Did you ever, how do I say this? When you are on videotape, I appear on your television sets, do I not? Yes. Okay. And when someone appears on your television sets, they are an authority. Whether you want to call it that or not, somehow or other, somebody's on your television sets, they're an authority. So by merely putting myself on videotape and sending it out to you, which you paid for, by the way, I then become an authority, don't I? Now, whether I'm any good or not is I won't say immaterial, but the mere fact that I'm on your television set gives me a credibility above and beyond somebody who isn't, unless I really blow it, okay? So if you want to do some of your own sessions, if you want to do sit in your living room, if you will, and get a nice light and a reasonable camera and talk about what tapping is, introductory tape or something like that, and give it out to your clients, they're going to put it on their television set, aren't they? Are you now an authority? If you write something, you're an authority. The first two syllables in authority is author. Okay? Very important. Go ahead, Quila.
Somebody just gave me the suggestion to do audio tapes. Do you think it would be as effective?
Well, it is better than no tapes, but videotapes somehow is different. It's different.
Yeah.
It's different.
Because people tend to not do it after you've had a group session, but if they went home with a tape, maybe they would do it more often, is what we were thinking.
Well, possibly, and you know that by trial and error. Go ahead.
Something that I've been able to do, community television stations have volunteers and they're eager for programming, and they often have very nice studios and produce the tapes and so forth, and then show them on the local access stations.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, so you need to call them, etc. I've never done that, by the way. I've only heard about that. It's just one of those potentials I've never done.
My experience is that they're eager to have people come in, and the volunteers want to do the work and have things to film.
I'll take your word for it, and I hope somebody goes lines up. Yeah, go ahead.
Gary, I just went on one of these programs, and what do I do?
Lift it up.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, just speak.
I've just been on one of these programs. I videoed it, and it was shown every day for a month.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, I have to go on here, unfortunately, but I want you. What was it about?
It was about tapping.
Oh, okay. So you did a videotape about tapping.
They came to the house. They phoned me up. Said, "Can we video television?" I said,
"Oh, they phoned you up."
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I think he was talking about where you can go in your.
But you can phone them up.
Yes.
They're only too pleased, you know.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. Go ahead, Ken.
On TV, one of the hypnotists that I know, Jerry Kine, he has a video for every person that walks in his office, and he does a pre-hypnosis introduction on videotape. So they're looking at him as the expert as they walk in the office. So they're looking for a 15 minutes or half an hour first, and it sort of cuts short the necessary time.
Excellent idea. In your waiting room, you have a television set, little VCR, make it videotape of yourself of what you're going to do, put it right there. All of a sudden, you're on TV. Are you more of an authority if you do that? Of course you are, automatically. It's one of these built-in automatic decisions people make. See, we love to make shortcuts. The writings on our walls are mostly shortcuts, as we talked the other day. What does this mean? Shortcut, boom, that's what it is, and so we don't have to think about it. And one of those shortcuts is if somebody's on television, they have more authority, more credibility than if they aren't. That's just an automatic thing. Whether it's valid or not, or logical or not, is immaterial. It's one of the automatic responses that we're conditioned with. And it's important to understand that. Now, I've skipped over some things because...
Gary, I'm sorry. Back here.
Yes.
There's also a website called Keen.com, Keen.com, and it's like anybody who knows anything about anything can go on there and create a page, and people will, and you can create pre-recorded message, or you can be available for live phone calls, and people will call you up during the hours which you state you're available, and you can make money with that, and you can get your name out there on the on the web.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Sure. And I presume you could even put your photograph on it. Of course you can. Yeah. And if your photograph is on it, does that add some credibility typically? It tends to. Yes. Okay. Now, one of the things I want to hit and I want to spend some time on is number G, ways to bridge beliefs. See, one of the big issues we've had, and I should have addressed this a long time ago, is how do you present this to people? See, this EFT or any other tapping procedure does not comply with the belief systems of most of the people in the English-speaking culture. Okay, it's weird. You don't. I mean, this is not psychology. This is not like physical healing. How can this take care of a headache, and so on. All right, and so the mistake we have made, although we have been successful with it to agree, or we wouldn't have a room full of people like this and lots of clients and so on and so forth. But that, in a way, is a mistake when we say to either a colleague or a client or something, here is this new technique, EFT, we do this tapping, and it is wonderful, it's a Chinese thing, you know, or however you present it. Please sit down and let's do this together. Okay? Now, many times, they'll do it, often, you know, but even when they get the results, the mistake that is made here is because you have done nothing to bridge from their existing belief system to, you know, what this strange thing is. It is still unbelievable. That's why we have the apex problem. That's why people will even get great results and explain it away by something else, or say, I never had the problem in the first place, or all these other ridiculous comments that they make. Okay, even though you can go back and say, well, you know, you came in the office crying about it. Okay, well, why is it no longer a big deal? Well, it was only because of all the therapy I've had before it finally worked. Okay, stuff like that. Now, as ridiculous as that sounds, it is a criticism of us because we didn't portray it correctly. We didn't bridge it from their existing belief system. That is our fault, not theirs. We have created this whole thing called this apex idea, and this strange reaction they have, and we wonder why it is, and we give it this just strange phenomenon when it's very easy to understand. It's simply unbelievable. It doesn't fit. It doesn't compute, right? Now for people who are very familiar with acupuncture and like it, if we called it an emotional version of acupuncture, have we built a bridge? But how many people are in that category? What percent? Not that many. Some, but not that many, okay? So we need to find ways, and I'm going to give you some ways here, but I want to hear from you about ways, and you can write these things down, because we need to build bridges, because that is going to be one of the biggest things that we can do to present this to not only clients, but other colleagues, other people in the professions, you know, doctors, psychologists, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, so it's more believable, okay? Now, what I did was I created a couple of little formats that we could use. I want to give you the idea of this, but I would like to have you start brainstorming as we do this, and stand at the microphones and give some ideas about this. But let's take the first one here. It says, it's like talk therapy, or insight therapy, or conventional therapy, whatever you want to use, with an additional body element. Now, that may not be the best phraseology on the planet, but I want to take the form of it for the moment. It's like, take your pick, talk therapy, insight therapy, conventional therapy. It's like, which is something they already know. So you take something the client already understands. Like, you know, the term conventional therapy, they understand, they may not really know what that is, okay? But they know what the term means, conventional therapy. It's like conventional therapy with an additional body element. Okay? They already know conventional therapy tends to be like, let's talk it out and get insights. That to most people is conventional therapy. If we'll talk it out, we'll get insights, and then we'll understand it, and then we'll be better until the next time I come in when I'm in a mess anyway, okay? I just understand better why I'm in a mess, okay? But it's like something they know, something they understand, something they are familiar with, important term, something they're familiar with, except that in addition, with an additional whatever. Okay, do you see the bridge? It's a bridge. Go ahead, Stacy.
Well, I was going to say that I actually spend a lot of time setting this bridge up with clients. I found that that's more effective, and I have 3 ways I explain it. First is real left brain. So I talk about a brain chemistry. I have a whole brain chemistry thing that I go through that is written out that I send home with them. The second way is that I use the, have you heard Callahan describe it with rubber bands? Do you want to hear that? Because this works so well, and it's very visual, and I get this out. Take one large rubber band that has nothing on it. And you talk to people, I hold that up and I say, you know, we have millions of thought fields. So if I ask you to think of a red car, and I hold up the rubber band, you pull up the thought field red car. Now, unless you've had a problem with a red car, an accident, a ticket, whatever, it's neutral, right? Red car, no problem. But if I say to you, think of the problems you're having with your boyfriend, and I hold up the next rubber band that has big paper clips on it, say there are disturbances in that thought field, and everybody's nodding by this time. They get that. It's very visual, and they get that. What we're going to do is by focusing on each disturbance or aspect one at a time, we're going to tap on these series of points, remove these disturbances. So now you have a neutral thought field, and I hold the neutral rubber band up again, and then you can do what you want. And everybody gets that. The third thing is I talk about the zit effect. You know, that, how you say, like sticking your finger in the light socket. And what I say to people is, what happened to you happened on a physiological level. We're going to address it on the same level that it happened, the physiological level. Everybody, 100% of the people get that, which I have found astonishing, but they do. Everybody is nodding with me by that time. When I say what happened to you happened on a physiological level, I always get a nod yes on that. Everybody understands that. So we're going to address it on a physiological level. So the good news is you don't have to believe this is going to work.
I have a question for you, Stacey.
Yeah.
When you do that,
yes.
How many referrals do you get from those people?
I've had a lot of people.
Oh, you have?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, because I'm
Absolutely.
very interested, and I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
Because one of the reasons we don't get referrals is because the people don't understand it to begin with, and then they got to go out and explain it. It's like, they may say, I get a great result, but then they got to turn around and explain it, and they feel stupid, so they don't bother.
Yeah.
Okay?
No, I haven't had that. I don't know what they're telling their friends. I should ask that.
Well, I'm interested in that because as I'm hearing that, I'm saying the writings on my walls is saying that's too damn complicated.
Yeah.
But you're having results with it.
I certainly am, and I spend a lot of time doing it.
Okay.
Yeah. Because, so then they're like really, and I always say, you know, but the bottom line is you have to let's try it. Let's just do it.
Okay.
And see what happens for you. I don't know what's going to happen for you.
Okay, now that's the trial and error thing that's important. See, you have a different personality than other people have.
Yeah.
I guarantee you have a different personality, et cetera, and you have different convictions and different things, et cetera, and so you do it and you create it that way.
Yeah.
So different people have to do it different ways. That's why I'm not putting this thing out as the way to do it. I'm trying to give you formats for it. Okay? Go ahead, Fred.
I'm having a little trouble here because it seems very complicated.
Closer to the microphone.
Seems a little complicated. When I did my ads for the seminar I did, I said it's a simple technique that anyone can learn, and then told what the benefits it would do.
Okay, and that's fine if it works.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm trying to do is to create wording that purposely bridges something they're already familiar with. So what I heard there, I didn't hear already familiar. I heard new technique.
Just a simple technique that anybody can learn.
Okay. And if it works for you, if it works, if it's a proper bridge and you get referrals, everything else, fine. And so I'm not stuck on this, but I have seen it as one of the big problems here, and what I'm trying to do is to give various ways to do it. So I appreciate your input. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. First, I want to say something about the scientific bridge, which we're working on. Then I got a couple of ideas from what you just said, which I'm going to suggest. In psychology, systematic desensitization is an old technique. Hundreds of research studies have been done on it, hundreds. So when we
a little closer here.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hundreds of research studies have been done on systematic desensitization. It is in the establishment, okay, of psychology. So Steve Wells' paper, I've just done the rewrite on it for us to be submitting the research paper. What did we do? We are calling it meridian-based desensitization. Why? Because it is, as a matter of fact, I don't want to go into the technical reasons, but to use that, and I've referred to the entire literature of desensitization as the background and rationale for why we did this study.
Yeah,
well, that's a bridge.
Yeah, and
that's a technical bridge.
Yeah, and let me expand on that some, because what you did, what I want to point out there, is you're addressing that to the scientific community.
Yes.
That's not necessarily a client or colleague down the hall.
Right.
The scientific community, and so they're research-oriented. Systematic desensitization has all this stuff.
I wouldn't use that for a layperson.
Okay, yeah, but I'm just making that point. So what you did was you bridged this term. To put it in my terms, there's not yours. It's like systematic desensitization with, or it augments Systematic desensitization.
Actually, that's what I said. It's systematic desensitization with just a little bit added, is the way we put it.
Yeah.
And just gave some rationale for that. So what I'm thinking along your lines is it's something like, suppose we said, and I just thought of that now, this is for the layperson. Suppose you said it really is like relaxation therapy, regular relaxation techniques, with the addition that there's a physical component that is even more effective, or something of that sort.
Sure.
But using the word relaxation techniques, that's something people
because
know.
People who understand, most people understand relaxation is somehow good.
Yes.
Okay,
And
somehow
it's
good.
not scary.
Not scary. Familiar.
Yeah.
Familiar. So you bridge something that's familiar and you added something to it.
But I bet other people have other ideas of familiar things. That's
sure.
the thing that came to
yeah.
I'll give you two really simple universals that seem to work, especially in our country. First thing I asked them, I call it circuit breaking. Everyone knows that when the light goes out in the bathroom and you try to you flip the light switch, that doesn't work, so you go change the light bulb. That doesn't work, so one of you goes out to the switch and you're hitting every circuit breaker in the box, okay? And you're either thinking, I hope I'm getting that light, I hope I'm getting that light, I hope I'm getting that light, or someone's in the bathroom going, that's not it, not that one. You know, so you go through that. So you explain it like that. You're going to show, they're not going to become electricians. You're going to show them where the circuit breakers are on their body so they can flip it. And now changing the light bulb, you have to turn it in 3 times to make sure it's in good. Mm-hmm. That's when you do your PR. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's one way. Another way that I use it with clients is we're going to, have you ever planted a seed? Everyone has. I said, can you make a seed grow? No, that's between the seed and the ground. Well, there are some things you can do. You can prepare the ground, you can water it, you can fertilize it. I'm going to teach you how to pull the weeds now. EFT is pulling weeds.
Okay.
Visualization is watering and fertilizing.
Okay. My question to you is how well does that work? It's a nice sounding metaphor.
It works very well.
It works very well. Okay, if it works for you, great. I didn't hear a bridge in there. I heard a metaphorical explanation. Well, I'm not saying that's wrong.
Okay.
But there's 2 ways to do it. You can if that works, fine. I'm looking for bridges. But
okay. If you want to make it a bridge, you simply say, this is like that. I'm going to teach you a process that is like this.
Yeah.
It's like this.
Yeah. That to me is the easy way to do it, because most people, you can say it in 1 sentence. You see what I mean? Okay, but I honor that. That's fine as long as it works. Thank you for sharing it. If anybody wants to use a metaphor, please do. Yeah. Go ahead.
I'd like to second what is it, Stacy?
That said, a little closer to the mic.
I've had a practice for 6 years doing a therapy that's energy related, and I went from a standard medical background from nursing into this, and nobody in my area was really doing any kind of emotional therapy in the energy field. So I had a big bridge to gap, and everybody thinks, some people say, I don't care how it works, and some people really don't, but we've all got that left brain part of us that if we can satisfy that part of it and move into that, I've got a really easy example. Thoughts are things, they create a physiological response, and people don't understand that because nobody's ever explained it to them. You can do a really quick visualization with a lemon, and you can drag it out for a half an hour, but you can have them close their eyes and picture a lemon, and then have them imagine smelling it, and then stand at a cutting board and have them cut it open, and imagine cutting through the seeds, and then pick it up and smell it, and then go through, drain it, tip your head back and squeeze some of the juice. About 90% of the people will start, their salivary glands will be activated. It's a physiological response to a thought that they never thought about before. It's a real physical, tactile, immediate experience that my thoughts just created this. And then you can go into, we're working in the field of thought. Your thoughts create the body reactions and they get stored. And then if you need other, there's other connections that you can build into that, but it's immediate. And if you do it right up front.
And this is a body element that helps that.
Exactly. And it's a really good bridge because they physically experience it.
Yeah, but you need to describe that bridge.
Right, I do.
Metaphorically and all that stuff. Take some time, and then you bridge and say, this is a body element which helps do that.
Right.
Okay.
You set it up,
Bridge.
and then you
need
give
bridges,
them a
bridges,
physical
bridges.
experience.
Yeah.
And it's very effective. I would also like to say, I think the biggest key in a practice growing is really taking the time. I take an hour to an hour and a half, and I do not charge for that time. I would pay the client. They don't know that. But that is the element. If you can get them going, I understand, I get it, they're totally receptive to whatever you're going to do. It's a key factor.
What I'd like to have them be able to do is instead of taking an hour, hour and a half, do it in 30 seconds.
Yeah, I would like to be able to do that.
Yeah,
too,
that's
but
one of my goals, and I think we have a seed, for some of these shorter sentences, but that's another alternative. Well, hold on one second. I got a lot of people up here. I want to make sure I cover some things. Please stay. I'll be asking you a second. I want to make sure I cover some things here. Just be a second. I want to go through a couple of more here. Just to embed this idea. If somebody is already familiar with massage therapy, okay, you can say it's massage therapy with an emotional component. See, massage therapy tends to be a physical thing. Okay? It's massage therapy with an emotional component. So it's what I've always had and what I like, but now I get an emotional component too. Well, that's good. You see the bridge? Okay. It's an Eastern version of hypnotherapy. The reason I said that was people, when I first started doing this, people would say, well, Gary, this came from the hypnotherapy community, don't you understand what you're doing? You're doing hypnotherapy. That's what they say to me. You're putting them in trance. Now, what they didn't realize is I don't have a clue what hypnotherapy is. I have no training. I've never put anybody in trance that I know of, period. I wouldn't know what to do if I got them there. I'd probably be afraid, Wake up! But yeah, but they come from that, it's hypnotherapy. Well, now we have an Eastern version of hypnotherapy, okay? It's a fast version of X therapy. You can put your own X in there, blank therapy, but it's a fast version of blank, whatever it is, Let me go on here a second. It's like cognitive behavioral therapy, except we don't need to talk so much. And by the way, you can, well, okay, but yes, if that's what they want to do, they want to talk, but then think about this. It's like, I'm just not going to make this up, okay? It's like cognitive behavioral therapy, except we don't need to talk so much, which means it costs you less money.
Yes. Yes.
That's all right. That is, thank you. Thank you. Okay, I'll rest for a moment. Who's next? Go ahead, Diana.
Basically, I'm taking your idea of taking this out to a 9-year-old. In my first session with my ADD and learning disability children, I use Mobius strips, and basically I run them through the shredder. So I've got the little thin strips, ask them to put arrows on it, and then we talk about how information gets stuck. Now I'm hoping that you can apply this to adults, but information gets stuck inside the brain, they can't get it out, or or they're too distracted on the outside. I show them how this simple little twist turns it into the Mobius strip where it comes in and out, and it also forms an infinity sign, which I want them to start to connect with anyhow. Mm-hmm. And what happens is they get it. They get it immediately. They don't ask any more questions. It's like, let's go for it, if you can make that work. So maybe there's a way to, kind of explain it similar to the rubber band situation with just one example. I don't know. But anyhow, it works.
All right. Dana?
How many hypnotherapists in the group? When I do hypnosis and I want to introduce EFT to somebody, I already start the session. I get all their tail enders, I get all their limiting beliefs, and then I help them with the tapping, or I have them do the tapping in an eyes open trance, and I use that as an anchor. This is the way you do the healing, and I give post-hypnotic suggestions that they can do that in their waking state. So that's my idea.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Lisa?
I've always liked the idea of defining myself against in opposition to what exists. So if you don't want to just add something, it's so-and-so with this added wonderful thing, it's so-and-so and take away this thing you don't like. And when I was designing a blurb for an adult community ed class aimed towards sports performance, most sports people are familiar with the term mental mastery. So I just made the slogan, it's mental mastery without the mental gymnastics. Because the last thing they want is something new that's complicated, and they all have an image of, in order to get mental mastery over my game, I have to go out and do this 15-minute long mantra thing that I have to do on the golf course. So just the simple idea that it's taking away, they think they don't want about the mental side.
To me, the value of that is you have built a bridge, you've created something that's familiar, but it's very quick. And in an instant, they get an idea of what
It also has
is.
the ring of a slogan, which is irresistible,
Yes.
easy to
sure.
remember.
Sure. Advertising has slogans and da-da-da-da-da, yeah, sure. Jingles, etc. Go ahead.
What I call it is a stress removal technique, and when they come in, I explain, you know, like, of course they have a problem. I say, well, picture that problem in your head, and where do you feel it? When you're stressed out, where do you feel it at? And I connect the mind and body connection, and I just say it's just a technique you use to remove stress. And I explain how their mind works using the reticular formation, and also the pictures in our head, and I just walk through and I give them a scenario of stress is all stress is as if you was walking through the woods and you're all by yourself and you walk up on this big bear. You see it don't see you. What happens? Your heart starts to beat, your breath changes, your kidneys have a pair of adrenals on it, it starts pumping adrenaline into your system, your digestion stops and the blood is rerouted to your arms and your legs. Your kidneys has like 400 functions, and one of the functions when you're stressed is start pumping glucose and fat into your system. And then when all this happens, you have this adrenaline, and a part of your brain shuts down. It's called the cortex, and you shift into auto mode. And so when this event happens, you just react, and that's how we work. And I just explain how the mind works and how the body reacts and the connection, and I just say it just removes stress.
Yeah, and I can see how that would work with a client. Where I would have difficulty is asking that client to go to somebody they want to refer to me and try to explain what you just said. So I would rather have something shorter, but I understand it. I understand it. And see, the important thing, does it work? And does it work for you? If it works for you, that's great.
Well, I have very few. When I first started, I didn't explain how it works, and they didn't understand. But whenever I explain how the mind works, how the body works, and all it is stress, and if you do any research, stress is the leading cause of all of our problems.
Yeah.
And so I have very few people come ask me, say, why did it work? I said, well, they don't
It's an
know.
Oriental stress reliever.
Yeah, there you go, Oriental stress reliever.
See, that was in 3 words. Stress reliever somehow is a familiar thing, whatever that thing is. Now we have an Oriental stress reliever. So that's a bit of a bridge. You see what I'm saying? Okay. All right, go ahead, Barbara. Thank you, Rob.
What I have found to be very helpful with the people that I've spoken to, especially the ahars, or the naysayers, I should say, is I akin what they've been through, their therapies, their hugs, the things that have up until now made them feel really good for the moment, but have only just put a Band-Aid on them. And that what I'm offering them is a very quick way to get to the cause of why they're having the Band-Aid. And that seems to, and actually I'm more articulate about it. I'm a little nervous right now, but they seem to understand the Band-Aid. They understand that the Band-Aid is covering the symptom, and that by doing these quick little things that we're going to do on major stress release points on the body, and that's all I ever say is major stress release points on the body, they normally don't ask me anymore, to remove the Band-Aid so that you don't need that anymore. The cause is gone. And it works well with children. And then they go tell their parents.
Yeah, okay. All right, great. You guys stay where you are. I'm going to go one other thing here. I want to go on with my writings down here. And I'm going to go to number H, because you'll notice H is a different format now, a different way of wording all of this. But you fill in your own words here with this. Do you know how important relaxation is to hypnotherapy? This is somebody, obviously, who's a hypnotherapy client or knows something about it, and they all know that relaxation is important to it. Okay? So you've just given the familiar, have you not? Okay. Well, adding this body element adds even more relaxation, and as a result, the benefits tend to go deeper and last longer. True statement, by the way? Okay, so what they're saying is I'm going to get hypnotherapy with a new thing that's going to supercharge it. Right? So you take the familiar. Do you know how? What we do is, do you know how? What this is, that's the format for it. Do you know how? Etc. You ask the question, you give an answer. Here's another one. Do you know how important it is to gain insights into our issues? Many clients believe that, by the way. Do you know how important it is to gain insights into our issues? Well, this new technique adds a relaxation element that allows insights to come more quickly. So for someone doing the talk therapy looking for insights, and that's a very true statement, by the way, we get some dramatic, very quick, very deep, very stunning cognitive changes. And so that statement is very correct. But notice one thing in all of these, by the way. That is, none of them say, this is called EFT or emotional freedom techniques. None of them say that. None of them say, this is a brand new technique, here it is in your face, this is what we're going to do today. It's being schmoozed in and blended in with other stuff that's familiar with them. Okay? I am not putting any kind of a request for you to call this thing EFT. I don't care what you call it. If your name is Margaret and you want to do a little change-o thing, you want to call it MAT, Margaret's Amazing Thing, it's okay with me. I'm serious. It's very okay with me. Go do that.
Margaret's Amazing Thing.
Do you know how blank has given you benefits before? See, this statement can be used for just about any kind of other technique they're familiar with. Do you know how blank, fill in your blank, has given you benefits before? Well, this is like that, only it blends in important new discoveries about how our systems really work. Okay? Do you know how blank sometimes takes a while to get to the bottom line? Yes, they'll say, and costs a lot of money, you could say also if you wanted to. Well, this new feature, I didn't say new technique, did I? This new feature tends to clear the way for faster results. Tends to clear the way. Now notice the phraseology. I didn't say it does clear the way. I didn't give it great accolades. I said tends to, etc. You've got to soft soap it a little bit because it's easier to swallow when you use softer words like that.